Is it okay to hate? Is hate a bad word? Modern liberals have labeled folks who stand for truth with the same moniker as they label folks that are racist and mean and ugly and vindictive and spiteful and abusive. Unfortunately, that's not true. I'm going to answer a question this morning. Is it okay to hate? The Bible says that it is okay to hate certain things. The Bible does not teach that it's okay to hate people. The Bible teaches that it is okay to hate sin, for instance. So modern liberals use the word hate to mean disagree with or be intolerant, because modern liberals believe love equals tolerance, or love is acceptance. In other words, if my child is engaging in some egregious, despicable, disgusting sin, because I love them, I'm supposed to pat them on the back and say it's okay and tolerate it. Nope. Sorry, that's just not true. That's not what love does. Jesus was the perfect personification of love, and he would say in Revelation 3:19, as many as I love, I rebuke and chasten. So if your child is engaging in something that they should not be doing that is harmful to them, if you really love them, you're going to tell them to stop. If you don't love them, you're just going to do like modern liberals do and tell them to keep on going. God hates sin, okay? Is it okay to hate? Well, God hates some things. God hates sin. Jesus would say in Revelation chapter 2 in verses 6 and verse number 15, he would speak of specific deeds, he says, which I hate. He hates some things. In Isaiah 61 and verse 8, God says that he hates robbery for burnt offering. In other words, if you stole something to offer to God, he hates it. So can we understand that a being capable of love, John 3:16, is also capable of hate, Isaiah 61:8? Of course. It is a good thing, and it is right to hate some things. David would say, through thy precepts I get understanding, therefore I hate every false way. Psalm 119 and verse number 104. Now, why did David say that he hates every false way? Because false doctrine leads away from God. It leads toward destruction. 2 Thessalonians 1, 7 through 9. So do you understand that it's okay to hate some things? Jude would say in Jude 1, verse 23, that some we have to snatch out of the fire, hating even the garment spotted with sin, right? So we are to hate sin, we are to despise it, and we are to warn people, and we can do this in various ways as long as they're scriptural, Bible-centered ways. We can warn folks concerning sin, and we're to despise even the concept of sin. Now, I want to read something to you and show you a context in Leviticus chapter 19. In Leviticus 19 and verse number 17, it says this, you shall not hate your brother in your heart, but you shall reason frankly with your neighbor, lest you incur sin because of him. That's the American standard. It is not acceptable to hate someone. The Bible repeatedly tells us we are to love our neighbor, not hate our neighbor. What modern liberals do is they actually hate people. They hate people because they tolerate their sin, they pat them on the back, they make excuses for them, they don't teach any accountability, they do everything in their power to promote it, to tolerate it, to instigate it, and that really means that they hate them. They are not looking out for their best interest. They don't care a thing about them because they are promoting wickedness and promoting things that are destructive to people. Now, in Leviticus chapter 19, I want you to consider the context. I'm going to go through and summarize a few things for you. In Leviticus 19, where we find this verse I just read for you, listen to this, beginning in verses 9 and 10. Leviticus 19 says that God obligated the nation of Israel to love the poor and the stranger by providing the gleanings of their field for them. In other words, when they would harvest their crops, they were to leave a portion for the poor and for the stranger. Why? Because they cared about them. They wanted them to be provided for. Notice that's what love does. In verses 11 and 12, they were to prove their love for their neighbor by not stealing from them, by not deceiving them, or falsely swearing. That makes sense. What about verse 13? They were to prove their love for their neighbor by not defrauding, robbing, or keeping back wages. Makes sense? Verse 14, they were to prove their love for their neighbor by not cursing the deaf, which they couldn't hear, or putting a stumbling block in front of the blind, which they couldn't see. Does that sound like a very loving thing to do, to put a stumbling block before someone who couldn't see? Verse 15 says they were to prove their love for their neighbor by showing righteous judgment and not being partial. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Verse 16, they were to prove love for their neighbor by not being contentious or talebearers. It's in this context that we find verse 17, and I'm going to read it for you again. You shall not hate your brother in your heart, but you shall reason frankly, or in any wise rebuke him, the King James says, lest you incur sin because of him. In other words, if you hate your neighbor, just let him go on sin and never say a word to him. But if you love him, you're going to what? You're going to correct him. Is it okay to hate some things? Not only is it okay to hate some things, we are obligated to hate some things. We are to hate sin. We are to love our fellow man enough that we tell them the truth. And that includes these people that are practicing wickedness and sin. We cannot tolerate it. We cannot accept it. And I never will. And the righteous, the saints, the faithful, they never will accept it. They're going to stand for truth and they're going to oppose error because that's what loving people do. Is it okay to hate some things? Absolutely. We should hate sin. Is it okay to hate people? Not at all. We can hate sin without hating people. And just because I don't agree with you and I don't tolerate what you do does not mean that I hate you. As a matter of fact, it means I love you. Do you disagree with us? We would welcome your disagreement. We would like you to contact us at freeportcoc@gmail.com. Send us an email, comment on our Facebook or our YouTube videos, and we would be happy to discuss these things with you. If you would like us to cover a specific topic or would like to contact us, we would encourage you to do so. Thank you and have a wonderful day.